Hey, what's up, everybody? Today we're going to be taking a look at the differences between Kamutsuki DX Kyoryuzin and the Power Rangers Dino Charge Megazord. Since Power Rangers Dino Charge premiered not too long ago, I figured now would be the optimal time to go ahead and check out the differences between the two.
We're going to start off with the batteries here, or as they call them in Dino Charge, the Dino Chargers. On the left is the American, and on the right is the Japanese. As you can see, the American version of them has 3 separate clicks, 3 separate changes. As for the Japanese one, it only has 2. Japanese are bigger, obviously, and they do have the little sparkly stuff there, and they just look nicer to me, to be honest with you. Yes, the American ones are clear, you can see right through them. They do have a QR code right there that you could probably scan. Let me leave that there so maybe you guys can scan that, and I'm sure that's probably used for the Dino Charge app that you find on your phone. This one does say Tyrannosaurus Rex, and the Japanese does have the Japanese name Gabutira. Let's go ahead and get started with the first mecha or Zord, and that's Drysera. Alright, there you go. There's the Pink Ranger Zord. As you can see, let's go ahead and focus out a little bit. Some clear differences, especially in size. Here's the Japanese. The Japanese, obviously, like I've stated before in the previous review that I had for the Zord, the clicks, there's a lot of clicks. It's a lot stiffer, and it does have this deal here. There's a button on the bottom for the actual battery that goes into the mouth, and we can get to that in a minute. It's a lot smaller. It feels more compact. You can kind of fit it in your palm pretty much. There is some missing paint right here at the tail, as well as this gimmick here. That's not on this one at all. The difference though is that this does come off at the top here, which is this part, which kind of takes place for that part. If you can kind of see there, it does have kind of like the missile portion. There's some missing paint in the front. See, the Japanese ones are a lot more detailed all the time. So I'm more of a fan of the Japanese ones, but the American one is actually pretty good itself, especially if you're just kind of like looking just for maybe like a collector, or for your kids to play around with, things like that. That's also really good for that. Let's go ahead and check out the battery. Now, unfortunately, the Power Ranger Dino Charge Megazord only comes with the Tyrannosaurus battery itself, so that's kind of a bummer. The Japanese one does come with 3, so I'm gonna pop that in there, and pop that in there, and it does that. It does pop out the little drill part, and to get it out, you do have to, for the most part, you do have to press this little deal at the bottom and pop that back out. So yeah, there's that. And then the Japanese one this one actually has the Drysera battery. Again, this one does have 2 modes. And you pop that in there. You do have to press the bottom here for it to really fully go in, and then it clicks. That pops out the drill. The main difference is that you can actually close the mouth on this one, and the battery stays in. As opposed to this one, you pop it in, you can't close it at all. So there goes Drysera. We'll pop that back out. And see the differences. Next up, we're going to be looking at Taguchi or the Stegosaurus Zord. Again, as before, you can see obvious size differences. As far as paint scheme go, they look fairly pretty much the same. There's some yellow here that isn't here in the American version, and looks to be, it's pretty much the difference really. There's some screws in the American that are here and here, and on the tail that aren't there in Japanese, and then there is some paint here accenting some of the detail that isn't there. Let's check this out. Here is the American version, the Stegosaurus, and again, like I said, it does only come with one Dino charger. Pop that in there, and it's supposed to loosen this up here, or that. It does come off here, and that kind of loosens up this the sword here for the Megazord formation. And you can just pop that back in. See? And again, just like the other one, it does have an area here where you push and it loosens up the battery. Let's take a look at Japanese import. Again, this one does have its own battery. It's Taguchi. 2 modes as to the other usual 3. Pop that in there. And it does have a button at the bottom, just like the other one. So there, pop that in. See, that one pops up a lot easier, and it does come out just like the other one does, and that forms a sword for the Megazord formation. Now on the other sword, it was missing this little color scheme here on each side, and you pop that back in. And that's that. And just like the other one, like I said, you know, with this one you can close the mouth, which is a pretty cool plus, especially if you just want to kind of keep the battery in there and not lose it, and it not look kind of weird with its mouth just kind of sticking straight open like that. So that's a pretty neat little feature. Yeah, so there goes Taguchi, or the Stegosaurus Zord. Okay, so here we are at the third and final Zord. We have here the Tyrannosaurus Rex, or as the Japanese audience refers him to as Gabutira. Again, you can see the size difference. That's a pretty obvious feature. There is some accents here in the Japanese that aren't here in the American version, as well as the tail. The tail is kind of, you know what, honestly, it was kind of a little disappointment to me. As you can see, you know, the tail on the Japanese one is a lot bigger, and this is kind of like a little wimpy looking deal here. The size difference, as far as you know, the size goes, it doesn't really bother me too much. They're still both pretty big. Japanese one is a lot bigger, obviously, and all that, but it doesn't, you know, it doesn't take away from how cool it looks. It is a still a pretty cool Zord. There are some silver accents here that aren't there in the American. And let's see here, what else? There isn't too much of a difference besides that. The one thing that I did like, that I did appreciate on the American version, was that, let's see if I can stabilize this a little bit, was that this Zord, actually, the American one the head does turn completely 360, which I thought was pretty cool. It's a pretty cool little feature. As small as it is, it's a pretty cool little deal, and it kind of adds a little to the play of it, as opposed to the Japanese one. It does bend this way. That's kind of where it stops, though. It doesn't bend this other way. So it kind of stops right there. As you can hear the clicks, though, the clicks are a lot solid, so it keeps it a lot, like the joints in it are a lot more stable than anything. And that's the inside. This one here does have sounds that it does make, although I don't have batteries in it at the moment. It does play the morphing sequence song from Kyoryuzin. This one, the American, does not have any sort of button at all. It's just kind of there as an accent. Let's see here. This does come off. Now, the American version does have some portions that pull off to kind of coincide with the Zord builder ports, so that does come off there, and that does come off there. The Japanese version, put that down. The Japanese version does not. More than likely because of the reason it has electronics in it to make sounds, so it's not gonna, you know, be able to pull apart so easy. Anyway, but they're both very solid. Again, as a fan and as somebody that has been collecting for quite a while, I do prefer the Japanese over the American, unfortunately. Although the American one is pretty cool still, just because of what it is, especially this one, especially the Tyrannosaurus and the Gabutira. The Tyrannosaurus is actually probably one of the coolest ones that I've seen in a while. The opposite side really doesn't have too much play to it here. It's kind of I wish that they would have, you know, kind of at least you know, put some detail in the back here as opposed to just completely in the front. Now, you know, as opposed to this one, that, again, like I said, it's probably one of the coolest ones that I've seen in a while. But you know, nothing takes, you know, nothing makes a Zord more than detail to me. And the Japanese one just, you know, it just has it. So hopefully they start putting a little bit more detail into these American Zords, and putting a lot more care into them, as opposed to just put them out there just to sell them. You know, they are good for kids. This one I do recommend, actually, for if you have kids out there and they just, you know, want a Zord to mess with or play with. It is pretty solid, but as a collector, I would suggest getting Kyoryuzin. You know, like I stated before, just because of how nice it looks. It's a nice collector's piece. It looks awesome sitting on your shelf. So yeah. Let's see here. And as for let me see the batteries. Let's get to the batteries here real quick. Again, this one is actually for the Tyrannosaurus. So you open the mouth, and what that does is it just pops up. It's a little hair here. Put that. You push it down. Goes that. And let's see here. Let's get. Get the one for Gabutera. Pop that in. See? That pops it up. Now, if I had batteries in this thing, which I probably should have, it'll play again a song, one of the themes from Kyoryuzin, which is actually pretty cool. When I initially got this guy, I had no idea what the heck that song was, and it was kind of it's kind of funny to me. It still is kind of funny to me, really. It's kind of one of the more funnier themes. But yeah. So there goes Gabutera and Tyrannosaurus Zord. Probably can't get both of these guys in frame very much. Very good. Let's try if we can. Turn these guys around. The other big thing is that Gabutera has a lot of weight to him. The Tyrannosaurus here for the Power Rangers Dino Charge one, it has a little bit of weight, but it's not that heavy. Gabutera is like, man, I could probably do a couple of curls with this one. And the feet there. Okay, so here we have Megazord form. On the left is the Power Rangers Dino Charge Megazord, and on the right, obviously, is the Kamatsui Gatai Kyoryuzin. Again, size difference is the key here. You can obviously see, you know, quite a few differences between the two. There are some buttons right here at the legs on the Japanese import, where they do extend the legs a little further down. The American version does not have that. You know, this thing's just, I mean, the Japanese version is just a powerhouse. Probably one of the biggest and heaviest ones that I've come across in a while. And let me just turn this around so you can see the back. It's the back here. It's a little shield that it has in the back. Basically, is where the tail is. And let me turn this one around. And again, you can see the difference. A lot more detail into this one. Here, the Japanese one, you can actually put the helmet here to hide it, you know, or keep it from getting lost when the tail is on, you know, Gabutera. As for the American one, I'm not entirely sure, to be honest with you, where the helmet goes, where it's stored. So that kind of, left me, I guess, with just the helmet off to the side. If you guys know where it's at, where I should put it, then let me know. But yeah, so here it goes. Here it is. These two guys here. Again, like I said, if you're just looking just to have one of these, and you have no really, you're not inclined to be a collector, I would go ahead and pick up the Dino Charge Megazord. If you are a straight collector of Super Sentai or Power Rangers, memorabilia and mecha, things like that, the Japanese one is always the way to go. The stuff that they have is a lot more detailed. To me, I feel like there's a lot more care put into them than the American ones. The American ones, honestly, in my opinion, I feel like they just kind of try to pump them out to make some bucks, and that's it. They don't really make them like they used to anymore. It makes me sound like an old guy whenever I say that, but they really don't make them like they used to anymore. Back in the early or the mid 90s or whatever, early 90s, they used to kind of scale them about the same size, and for the they pretty much have, for the most part anyway, the same kind of detail. And now they're scaling them a lot smaller in America as opposed to Japan, and it could be a cost cutting deal or anything like that, or something like that, I should say. But I would say if you're a collector, go for the Japanese. You can always you'll pretty much do no wrong in getting the Japanese one as opposed to the American one. So thanks for watching my video. Again, subscribe to the channel if you can. We'll be doing a lot more of these soon. I have a couple of videos in the works to give out to you guys, and keep checking cinemadeviant.com for all your movies, news, reviews, and trailers. And thanks for watching. See you next time.